Anger and violence against U.S. diplomatic posts is at a fever pitch in Yemen and Egypt. Hundreds of Yemeni demonstrators angered over a film mocking Islam have stormed the grounds of the U.S. Embassy in Sana'a, continuing a wave of protests sweeping the region.
Now, the protest in the Yemen capital comes in the wake of the violent attack on the U.S. Embassy compound in Benghazi, Libya Tuesday, and the rocket-propelled grenade attack that killed Christopher Stevens, the U.S. ambassador to Libya. Meanwhile, in Cairo, protesters climbed into the U.S. embassy and ripped down the American flag. The mob in Yemen smashed the windows of security offices outside the embassy and torched a number of diplomatic vehicles. The demonstrators broke through the main embassy gate, shouting, "We sacrifice ourselves for you, messenger of God." Embassy security guards used water cannons and warning shots to drive them out of the heavily fortified U.S. compound in eastern Sana'a. A number of people were reportedly injured.
Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi says he supports peaceful protests but not attacks on U.S. embassies. Egyptian police fired tear gas canisters to disperse demonstrators near the American embassy in Cairo after fires were set and rocks were hurled at police. The protesters were again reacting to a film mocking Islam's Prophet Muhammad. Portions of the film, Innocence of Muslims, has appeared on YouTube. The demonstrators are demanding an apology from the U.S. in the prosecution of the makers of the film. President Obama has ordered increased security at U.S. diplomatic posts worldwide.
Now, for more discussion on the tense and dangerous situation surrounding U.S. embassies in North Africa and Yemen, we're joined on the phone by Voice of America's Elizabeth Arrott in Cairo. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Now, would you say that these demonstrations across the Middle East really bring into focus the whole question of the Western view of the freedom of speech?
Yes, I think what you're seeing is a basic clash of two ideas. The freedom of speech, which is pretty much sacred except for inciting violence in the West, and then here, there is an increasing desire, especially after the Arab Spring, to have some kind of freedom of speech, but absolutely not against the Prophet. There are sacred things people believe, and they just simply are not open for discussion, and any idea of free speech just stops there.
And of course, one of this is the Prophet, for example, and we've seen this happen in the past, even in other areas with the cartoonists. This is like an era of no compromise. There's no negotiation about this.
No, so far there really doesn't seem to be a middle ground, and people are trying to look for it. But as you noted, it has come up again and again with the cartoons, with the Dutch film, and it's just it's a basic opposition. And because both sides are fairly absolute about it, nobody's really found the proper kind of dialogue yet. People are calling for dialogue, yes, but it's not been very effective yet.
Yes. Now, Elizabeth, this film that ignited all this violence, in fact, was made by a private citizen. What are people telling you? Why are they taking it out on the U.S. government?
Well, that is a strange thing, and it goes again to sort of popular conceptions. I think people here are quite used to having the government dictate what goes on in the media. I think now, after a couple of days, it's quite clear that this was not a government film. But there's no understanding why the U.S. government cannot punish these people. And of course, the cornerstone of Western free speech is the idea that no matter how offensive it is protected, again, as long as you are not calling to have somebody killed or being hurt.
You are, in fact, where all this really began. What is your sense of things on the ground? Is this going to cool down soon enough, or do you see an escalation, a possible escalation of this violence?
Well, I think we'll know more tomorrow. After Friday prayers, midday prayers tomorrow is a common time for people to call for demonstrations, and there are demonstrations called for tomorrow. We've certainly seen it spread from Egypt and Libya, now to Yemen and Tunisia and Gaza. So depending on how much it picks up tomorrow, I think, this could continue. Now, on the other hand, I think the violence and the deaths in Benghazi here, in any case, seem to take the steam out of it a little bit in terms of the protesters. You're not seeing the numbers that you saw on Tuesday outside the embassy.
Well, thanks a lot, Elizabeth. And that's VOA's Elizabeth Arrott reporting from Cairo.